In the last video of Zara, you saw her being saddled for the first time. This video was recorded a couple of days later after she'd been saddled a few more times. And today, Raven is going to be ground driving her for the first time, working on her steering, left and right, stop, back up, that kind of thing. You're going to also see a mix of sacking out to stand still and driving to ask her to go. It's important that she understand when to stand and when to move on, to walk. A lot of people get in trouble when they do nothing but sacking out, and the horse learns that every time it gets worried or every time it thinks it's supposed to, it stops and stands. And that causes problems with not having a go cue when you get in the saddle and not being able to get a horse that's just started under saddle to walk. So it's a balance there of stop and stand still and move. Here Raven is asking her to follow her nose with the lead rope, just adding a little bit of pressure and asking her to walk forward and follow her nose. That basic thing is one of the parts that Maverick was missing. If you saw his videos, he didn't know how to follow his nose. And Raven's going to be building on that into driving. Yeah, notice that she's working with a lead line right here where she had a lunge line before. A little bit different kind of work, and just working with a little bit different tool. She'll end up swapping to a lunge line in just a minute. These young horses, we always bridle first, and we're not really gonna force the bit into her mouth. Gonna get the bit up between her teeth and just kind of wait and let her open her mouth and take the bit. And that helps that later down the road so that she's soft and easy to bridle. There, Raven's just waiting for her to open her mouth. We don't really care to stick our finger in the mouth unless we have to. We'd rather them learn to open their mouth as the bit is coming to them. Now this is just a plain D-ring snaffle bit. She'll be carrying that bit while Raven's working, but everything will be done off of the halter. If you remember in the first video I did of her, she was bad about kicking with her back legs, really bad about being around her back legs, rubbing her back legs. And we haven't really worked specifically on her back legs because I knew that a lot of this work was going to go a long ways towards fixing that problem. So after we complete this work and we get some rides on her, then we'll go back and we'll ask her to pick her back feet up, and it's going to be better even without working specifically on it. There, Raven's throwing the pad up and pulling it down, just kind of letting her get used to it. And then go for a walk. You're going to see that constantly throughout the video. The reward is the walk, and that's going to pay off later when we get in the saddle. It's not just all about standing still. Stand still and sack out. The reward is the walk. A lot of people work it so that the reward is the removal of the scary object, which to a point that's okay, but you really need the reward to be the walk so that is the release of pressure, and that's going to carry through into later as the training progresses. Raven is saddling her up. She's taking her time, making sure Zara understands what's happening. You don't ever want to surprise a horse with anything. Zara is going to always know what's happening, what's coming next. And as watch when Raven goes to tighten this girth. She's going to bring the girth up and make contact with Zara and hold that contact while she's running the girth strap through the ring and tightening it. You don't ever want to let that girth hang loose on these young horses and then pull it up kind of tight and quick, like a lot of people do, especially with older horses. That's really bad technique with the young ones. That's going to create horses that are cold backed, scared of being saddled, and it's going to create some saddling issues. She's going to keep the girth up against Zara and gradually tighten it up, and that way it doesn't scare her. She's not really concerned about having the saddle tight enough to get on to ride, but we want it tight enough so that it stays in place. Everything that you see us do throughout this video, we're always relaxed, taking our time, but you also working with intent. You take your time, but you have to work with intent. It's a fine line there. You have to not rush. You have to kind of look at your horse and watch as they're taking it in and how they're taking it in, and be intentful, be the leader, but not go too fast, but also not go too slow. There, Raven snug the saddle down and just asked Zara to walk. Nothing too drastic, just move on now that the saddle is tight. A lot better reaction than what she had the other day. And we do a lot of walking when we're lunging. Watch Raven's position, and our lunging builds into our driving. And all the walking is on purpose. And we'll move around in the arena, and I've had several people comment about how much we move in the arena with our lunging, and there's a reason for it. It's because of what builds next in the training. There, I'm talking to her, standing there at the gate, watching and talking to her. Now she's going to swap out the lead line for a driving line. Adjusting the bit a little bit. I like the bit to be especially on these young horses, close to the corners of the mouth, maybe not quite touching the corners, but very close. And that gives the horse the chance to pick that bit up and hold it and learn to hold it, and that helps with our communication. I don't ever want any wrinkles in a horse's mouth. And then the other part of that is you have to look in the horse's mouth and look and see where the bars are and where the canine teeth are, and make sure that sitting in close to the corners of the mouth is suitable for what's actually in their mouth and where the bars in their teeth are. Some horses are a little bit deeper mouthed, some of them are a little bit shallower mouthed. Now Raven's going to ask her to move out a little bit, and watch how Raven moves and walks with her. This is all building towards driving. Raven and I both lunge with the lunge line on the ground like that. I don't like having the loops in my hand. That also keeps my hand free for using a lunge whip and makes it easier to change directions. Raven's kind of working her way over to the wall so she can change directions. As you watch her, you can see how this pretty easily transfers from lunging to driving. There, see, she's getting over closer to the wall. And she'll ask for a change of direction here in just a minute. There, she's swapping hands. Meet her at the wall. 2 eyes. And send. There we go. Good job. Not quite as overly dramatic as what it was in the last video, but she did pick her shoulders up, move them laterally, change directions, push off with the back end. That's what we want to see. I also noticed that Raven doesn't have the lunge whip up threatening the whole time. She'll use it if she needs to send Zara forward, but she's not holding it out threatening the whole time. She's only going to use it when she needs it. Her body position is what's sending Zara out. Now, every once in a while, Zara is going to get close. Watch how Raven maintains space. I get a lot of questions about how to keep from getting kicked when lunging. Apparently, a lot of people have that problem, and we don't ever let the horse come in that close. And if you watch the slack, there's Zara changed directions. I'm not sure Raven asked, but that's okay. When Zara gets close, watch how Raven uses the lunge whip. She's going to use it to get right there. See how she used the handle to get her space. By using the handle that way, she doesn't have the tail flopping around. She's not going to hit her with the tail. And the length of that lunge whip is our personal space. And you don't ever want the horse to come into that personal space. And if you allow that to happen, that's how you get kicked. So Raven used the handle part to send Zara out, and that's what keeps Raven in a safe position. Now Raven asked her to stop, and waiting for Zara to just stand there a minute. We don't ever want the horse to close that distance right there. That's always our choice to close the distance, if we close it and when we close it. We never let the horse come into our space. If we're going to close that distance and pet the horse, we go into the horse's space. So that lunging was about getting some go. Now Raven's going to do a little bit of sacking out. She's going to pull this tarp out. Notice that Raven didn't set everything up and then go get the horse. She had everything just kind of in a pile out there, and she's going to move it around, and Zara is going to watch her move it around as she works with Zara. I believe that the horse seeing us interact with these scary things really helps the horse to accept them a whole lot easier. And she walks right across it. We've worked this a pretty good bit. Raven has worked it a good bit. Her blow up pineapple is blowing away. That's I don't know where she gets this stuff, but she comes up with the neatest stuff. That's a blow up pineapple with lights inside of it. Here I'm coming out with Maverick, and I'm going to ride him and work on his go and his steering while Raven is working on this work with Zara. Maverick's owner wants to use him for police work, so me working on his go and his steering while Raven is doing this work at the same time, I think is really going to help Maverick's training going in that direction. Now you see Raven is asking Zara to stand still with the pineapple, and then she walks off. That's the balance. Go and walk. The reward is the walk. Now Raven's going to do some work with the flag. At the end of this video, if I'm not mistaken, I think this is the right one, I end up carrying a flag on Maverick, carrying that flag. So there was a lot of really good work with both these horses this day. Now watch Raven with that flag around Zara's legs. Remember, we need to be working on getting her better about picking her feet up. Those little things with that bag really goes a long ways. Somebody rode in my saddle and lengthened my stirrups. I get off here in just a minute and shorten them back. I believe that working these horses this way really does both of them a lot of good. They both see what's being done with the other horse, especially Maverick seeing what's being done with Zara. He has had a lot of groundwork done with him before we got him. He's the one that I had said really had a little bit too much of the wrong groundwork done before he came. So he came in pretty comfortable with a lot of stuff. It was the riding part that we had to do a lot of work with. And normally we have a whole lot better go and steering than what we have by now, but we've had to work on getting him to follow his nose and undoing some things that were done before. There, Zara's just really comfortable with all that stuff. Now I'm riding Maverick with spurs here, working on his go. I will use the spurs to ask him to move, and then once he moves, I'll get soft. There, that looks good. Zara looks very comfortable with all that. This video is pretty long. I've been trying to decide whether I want to cut it down to make it a little bit more manageable size, or leave it this way so you could see the whole training session. And I think what I want to do is I'm going to leave it long, which means it's going to take me a really long time to do this voiceover and edit. But I really think it's beneficial so that you can see the whole training session on both of these horses. And there, Raven's asking Zara to walk again. We have been riding Maverick out back a good bit, and he has more go when he's out back, and he has okay steering. It's coming along. It's all right. In this arena, he's really kind of bored in the covered arena here, but he still needs to go and steer even in the covered arena. Here, Raven's doing some preparatory work, getting her ready for a mounting block. Just a little bit of everything, that she's going to need to know. And I'll also watch how Raven handles that lead rope and just walks around her. She's going to throw that lead rope over her neck and over her back, and not taking any big precautions with it, not hiding anything, and just showing her, just basically treating her like a broke horse. Because if you don't ever treat a horse like the broke, they're never going to get broke. So that goes back to what I said. You don't have to rush, but you need to be deliberate in your moving. If you notice, Raven never kind of creeps around like there's something to be scared of. She takes her time, but she's deliberate. Lots of repetition there. I am riding Maverick in a D-ring snaffle here. It's the same bit that we have on Zara, but I have the reins attached to the snaffle on Maverick. There, Raven's working with the mounting block and just kind of petting on her, letting her stand, and then reinforcing walk. Lots of repetition. This kind of stuff can be really boring. We've had this conversation before. It can be really boring, but it really pays off down the road. I'm just walking around on Maverick, just pointing his nose, asking him to go. There, right there, he wanted to stop and go in the barn. That's the entrance to the barn. Yeah, Raven's preparing her to get on. Raven, she's not going to get on her today. Her driving needs to be better, her ground driving. When we get on a horse's back, we want the horse already to know how to go, turn left, turn right, stop, and back up. So she's not quite ready yet, but in the process of teaching the steering and the cues that we need, Raven is also teaching preparing her to be stepped up on. When we do get ready to get on her, it'll most likely be from the ground, but she'll still be ready to get mounted from the mounting block. We almost never do the first couple of rides getting on from the mounting block. Usually they don't know how to carry weight, and when you go to step up in the saddle, it pulls them off balance, so they move their feet just a little bit, just learning how to carry weight and balance themselves for the weight. So usually getting on with the mounting block is not a real great idea. I'm seeing if I can walk Maverick across the tarp, and he goes. Just nice, quiet ride with Maverick. Just working on steering and go. I'll trot him some here in just a little bit. Zara is turning out to be a really nice horse. That first time when I worked with her, and she was pretty aggressive, uh, kicking at me and even tried to bite me one time. But once we started occupying her mind and giving her something to do, she really is turning into a really good mind. Really wants to do good. There, Raven was just rubbing around by her back hip. Just more work preparing her for picking her feet up. Just all these little things. Just it's all working towards building towards her being just a really good broke horse going down the road. So Raven does end up driving her in just a few minutes. If you want to skip ahead, you can go ahead and skip ahead to whatever part you want to see. Right now, Raven's just doing a lot of repetition, making sure that what she has is good and solid. Raven asked me if she wanted me to throw the pineapple to her. I told her not this time. She was dying to throw that pineapple at me. Maverick probably would have been okay. Now with Maverick, when he stops, I'm using my spurs, and when he goes, I just relax. Really want him to start developing a little bit easier go, a little bit easier steering, follow his nose a little better, which that part has come a long ways. That's a lot better. His steering is much, much better. We just need to get his go a little bit better. I tried him here in just a minute, but it just took more using my spurs than what it really wanted to. I think Raven's taking a break. Zara's taking a break too, watching us work. I had a client come and ride her horse a week or two ago, and she said, I watch your videos and it looks like you just walking and trotting around and not really doing much, but then I come and I ride my horse and it's like a totally different horse when I get on. She said it's amazing how this slow work that you do helps the horse so much, and that's a big deal, and a lot of people skip this, and that's why they end up with resistant horses or horses that have trouble going or have trouble with other issues. Here I'm trying to ask Maverick to trot, and I'm getting him to trot, but then when I stop kicking with my spurs, he stops trotting. So when he stops trotting, I'll kick him with my spurs again. When he starts trotting, I'll relax my legs. I want him to keep trotting without me consistently bumping him with spurs. He needs to keep going just because I asked him to keep going. That's starting to get better. He's got a really nice trot. It's really smooth. It's funny, Mustangs, they seem to have either a really good trot or a really bad trot. And his is really nice. There, we're getting some better go with Maverick. Maintain and go around the corner, well, a little bit better. Yeah, he stops, I bump, ask him to go. Right now, he's a good bit of work to ride just because of the effort it takes to make him go, but he's gotten a lot better. Nice thing is he wants to be good. He don't ever do anything bad. He always wants to be good. I think I'm there. We're gonna walk over the tarp. I'm about to have a here hold my beer moment, I think. So everything just kind of chill and relax. We try to keep it that way for all the horses that we're working. Even if we're working on loping or something moving faster or more forward, it still needs to be just as chill and relaxed as this is. Work a little bit of back up. Look like he was having a little bit of trouble backing up on that one leg. That's unusual. That's the first time I've noticed that. Have to check that out and see if that's continuing. Looks like I'm done with Maverick. I thought this was the day that I'd carried the flag with him, but I guess that wasn't. Must have been a different day. Thought I had a video of that, but maybe not. Maybe I just had some pictures of it. Raven's coming over here. She's coming to get her other lunge line. We use 2 lunge lines to drive with. I have a link to these lunge lines that we use in the description. I get them on Amazon. They're just a round lunge line is all they are. I think they're 25 feet long. And there's nothing special about them. I get them because I think they feel good in my hands. Really nothing special. You got bigger or smaller hands, you might want something a little bit different, but it's just what we like. Now when Raven starts to ground drive here, it's not perfect, but the thing about it is it doesn't have to be perfect. Anytime something goes wrong, it's just an opportunity to learn, an opportunity to teach the horse something. So there's going to be situations where it just she struggles a little bit, but that's okay. That's if me doing it, we go through the same things. The horse will kind of turn around and get a little bit tangled up, or sometimes worry and pull away, and it's just part of the process. Notice we don't take any great pains with it. We want her to be broke. We want her to be broke to that kind of stuff. We might get on her and get a lariat out and start throwing rope. In fact, kind of funny thing, I got a video that'll be coming out in a couple of days. I haven't downloaded it and started editing it yet. I had a horse, Zara, that I started under saddle, I guess maybe a year ago. I don't remember exactly. And she just came back to go back in training. And I'm working on making a video. There, she just kind of panicked with the rope around her hip, and Raven just dropped the outside rope and just let her kind of go around and work it out. It's not a big deal. She's looking at picking it up. Sometimes that works, sometimes it don't. Not going to work this time. No big deal. And through all that, she had the ropes all around her legs. She kind of worried about it. Then she figured out it wasn't hurting her, and it's all okay. We're just starting over again. It's no big deal. But anyways, I had this horse. She just came back. I don't remember how many months I put on Zara when I started her. I'm thinking 4 maybe. I'm not exactly sure. And then I sent her home, and she just came back for me to put some more training on her. And I was in the video, in the arena, making a video of this horse came back, and I'm figuring out what I have. And I look out in the pasture, and Robert's trying to bring the calves in, and he's struggling a little bit. He needs some help. So I take Zara out there, and we start gathering cows up. And just one of them things. We got the went out there and worked cows first day back, and it just shows how broke these horses really are when we get done. Raven's gonna get the line situated. She's just off camera right there. She'll come back in frame in a minute. Get the line situated and get Zara moving. This is the first time that Zara had ever been ground drove, so it's taken just a little bit to get it going, but that's okay. It's part of the process. You saw Raven with the lead line behind her hip, very first thing in this video, giving her head, and she would give her head and she would get the release. It's the same kind of pressure, but the only difference is driving, she's not really getting the same kind of release. So when she didn't get the release, Zara kind of worried a little bit. So just go back and do it again. Not a big deal. Nice, that looks good. There we go. A little better start right there. It takes a lot of practice to hold those reins up so that the horse don't step through them. There we go. Looking good. Now she worries, just work through it. It's not a big deal. There she kind of worried one direction, turned around, kind of pushing that way. It's not a big deal. And you see Zara gaping her mouth there, but the reins are attached to the halter. They're not attached to the bit. She's carrying the bit, but it's the halter that the reins are attached to. And right there, Raven's just kind of letting her go around in a circle and work things out. Let her figure out that it doesn't hurt. Here, we'll come back in frame a little bit in just a minute. Raven's doing a really good job of managing them lines. That's not hard to do, or not easy to do. And you notice that Raven is not getting behind her and pulling on her to slow her down. What she's doing is she just has that inside line and asking her to just go around until she starts to relax. Right there, Raven changed directions. Zara is wanting to kind of panic and run off, but again, Raven just keeps her going around in that circle, mainly off of the lunge line. You should be able to see how the lunging that she was doing earlier, where she was walking a good bit, transfers right here. Right there, she's working on getting a little bit of steering, a little bit of change of direction. Now we got a different mind here. You see the difference in Zara here. She's not as, whoop, she just panicked there. Now she's dragging that line. She's just going to start over. It'll be okay, Raven. And even in situations like that, where she just kind of panics and runs off, she's dragging them lines behind her. She's going to figure out that they're not going to hurt her. That's why Raven's sending her forward. Figure out they're not going to hurt, and it's all going to be okay. It's just a learning experience. It's nothing wrong, nothing bad. It's all okay. I mean, for me and Raven's point of view, sometimes we get a little bit of frustrated because it didn't go exactly like we planned. But the other side of that is, Zara's learning a really important lesson right here and all that. Now she's getting kind of twisted up in the lines, and Raven's just going to stand there. What'll happen here, Zara will get twisted up, and then she'll stop and let Raven go help her. And that really helps this whole situation out. It helps build the bond between Zara and Raven. It helps Zara with the kicking issue. Goes a long ways towards helping with the kicking issue. And in a minute, Zara will stop and Raven will go help her. And again, this is all attached to the halter. It's not attached to the bit, so none of this is pulling on her mouth. It's just pulling on the halter. And we don't use halters with knots on them just for this reason. It's just a smooth, soft halter. There, now she looks like she's going to stand and wait for Raven to come help her. Really good lesson here for the horses to learn. Really good lesson to learn of just stand still and we'll come help you out. Really important. There she moves. Raven moved her. Decide if she wants help or not. Oh, she got her foot out. Got it out on her own. So now Raven will gather the lines back up and do it again. Like I said, it's all a learning experience for the horse. Even when things kind of go wrong, like getting away from Raven, it's not a big deal. They get away from me all the time. It's not a big deal. Now Raven's going to get her lines untangled and just start all over again. If any of you have ground driven before, put it in the comments. Let me know how it went. It's pretty challenging, especially if you don't do a whole lot of it. And then if you have a horse that's never been ground driven before, that makes it even harder. I get a lot of questions about why we don't use a round pin for this kind of stuff. I do have a round pin over there, but we just don't use it very much. We want the horse to learn to go, steer, stop, sack out, all because we ask it to. We don't want that pin to really factor in. We don't want the confinement of a round pin to factor in with what the horse does. We want the horse to make the right decision because it learned to make the right decision, not because that round pin didn't give it many options. Now, if some horses that seem like they're going to be pretty bad or hard to handle, I will use a round pin, but we just don't very often. We even put the first rides on horses in this pin. It's 60 wide and 90 long. just to give you an idea. Now, right before Zara broke away, I said that there was a little bit of a change in her mind. We'll see if we can get it again here. Right there again, Raven gonna try her best to just let Zara go around her. And there's all this stuff in the floor. People have asked me before, why don't you get everything picked up? We don't, because we want Zara to learn to pay attention to where she puts her feet. And that wherever she goes, whatever she does, as a career, she needs to know where her feet are. Now we'll get Raven's going to untangle her and start over again. And the thing about it is, Zara is learning about these ropes all around her legs. She's getting used to it. She's getting broke to it. And that is a big part of the learning in itself. Not sure what they're both looking at over there. One of the horses over there must have been doing something. I believe that is, oh, somebody's scratching their ear on the tree. I see that. Not sure who that is. Campo likes to scratch his butt on that tree. I think he's scratching his ear. Not sure what he's doing. Hard to see here. Raven's getting the lines set up to go again. Yeah, she's smooching, trying to teach the go cue, and at the same time, if she don't go, then she got a little bit frustrated there. Start over again. Just gather the lines up and go again. It's not a big deal. Zara is trying to leave when Raven starts the driving, and what needs to happen is Raven drive around in a circle like lunging. That's what needs to happen to make this go a little bit better. And Raven will figure it out. Raven got a little bit frustrated when Zara pulled away a minute ago, but she's not staying mad at Zara. She was frustrated at what happened, and now she's just starting over again. Got to get the line up. Line needs to be up above her hocks. Now she's trying to get her to go forward. Right there, what Raven needs to do is get the line above her hocks and then step back into a lunging position. Now she's stepping through the lines. She's about stepped herself back in position. Trying to free the line from her. There we go. There we go. Now let's see if we can go in a circle. Either direction, it don't really matter. There we go. Now we're getting it. Good job. I would probably go a little bit more around in a circle and not so much driving straight just yet, but it's working out so far. Makes me want to tick for her. There. It's really hard when the horse puts its head down like that because you've got to hold the lines up just about over your head to keep the horse from stepping over the lines. And you see right here how easy it is for the horse to start giving its head but not really changing direction. This is where we got to work on teaching the horse to follow his nose. And it helps to use your position with the steering just like you do when you're lunging. She'll come in frame again here in just a minute. There we go. There, we're getting a little bit better rhythm to the walk. As she put her head down and slowed down there, but starting to get a little bit of rhythm to the walk. I talk about rhythm a lot, and usually when you start to get resistance, the first way you notice is rhythm. And when the horse starts to relax and just starts to walk with rhythm, then the horse is relaxed. The horse is not usually going to walk with rhythm if it's tense. There's some good driving going on here. Raven's starting to change directions a little bit. Nice. Good turn to the right. Zara's not just panicking and going into flight mode now. Now she's actually using her brain and trying to think and figure out what's being asked of her. Right there is where you teach the smooch. So Raven is using a voice cue, and then if Zara doesn't respond to the voice cue, then she'll shake the rein. So same ask, tell, demand that we use all through training. Voice is ask, shake the rein is tell, and then spank her with the rein is demand if that's necessary. Zara is starting to be less behind vertical and actually follow her nose better. There, nice turn to the right. Nice work going on here. There, she's got contact with the left rein, trying to turn to the left. There we go. And in that situation, you just kind of ask and see what happens. Oh, look at that, she drove her across the tarp. That's why she turned left. That's pretty good. Turn right. Zara's catching on pretty quick. This is the first day she has ever been ground drove. It was a little rough getting started, but it's very nice now. Raven's asking for a left turn, and she asks and she just waits for Zara to respond. There we go. Looked like she asked for a whoa there. That was nice. And go up and reward. That was really nice session of ground driving. Took a little bit to get started, but that's okay. All those issues getting started is still an opportunity to learn. And then once she got it going, it went really good. You could see the light bulb come on in Zara, and just as soon as she figured it out, it was figured out. And Raven's going to attach to the lead line, and I think she's probably going to unsaddle here. So with these young horses, we like to unsaddle here in the arena. Once we're riding her, then we'll start unsaddling at the wash rack. She's just going to sit and take a break. Good job. Once we're riding them, we will unsaddle them in the wash rack. We've rinsed her in the wash rack still, even after we unsaddle her out here, and she'll be spending more time tied to the patient's line, and eventually we will cross tire in the wash rack, but we won't do that until a little bit later down the road, one step at a time. Now Raven is saddling her, and going to take the saddle off first, and then she'll take the bridle off. And Zara has learned to stand for this really nice. I get a lot of questions about how to teach a horse to stand to be saddled, and if you watch these videos with Zara, that's exactly how we teach it. And it's a combination of go and stand, and that's really important. You have to teach your horse to stand, but you have to teach your horse to go. And we've taught her to go in a manner that's controlled and productive, and something that's going to carry forward into the future training. That's really important, that everything is step by step, one thing builds on another. That's kind of what sets our program apart from other programs, because we build on that to train horses they're going to show and go do something. So Zara will have a playlist on YouTube. Until next time, thank you for watching.